Let's everybody give Carol a round of applause here.
Good evening, and thank you for coming to my show tonight at Marin TV. On these walls and in the other room are 19 of my 100 portraits of women of color and accomplishment that I've painted over the last 3 years. Tonight, I'm going to talk about the journey I took since 2020, when I used my art as art therapy to overcome my pain from a terrible tragedy, and how in the last 2 years, I have moved from art therapy mode to using art as a medium for social commentary or social justice art. It's interesting to me that I didn't realize my journey was from art therapy to social justice art until just recently. Although I've been painting for 50 years, the painting of this series didn't start until May 25th, 2020, with the murder of George Floyd. This teenager, Darnella Fraser, captured the murder of George Floyd on her camera and posted it to the social media. Without that video, I doubt with the murder of George Floyd would ever have been convicted. Watching the video and then the protests after that turned violent because of white supremacists and some police made me so angry and frustrated and also guilty. I was angry and frustrated that this country still had this much racism, and guilty because I hadn't done anything about it. Well, for 6 months, I decided to use my art to try to capture my feelings about racism. Well, that's a pretty big topic. And over 6 months, I just did layer over layer over layer on this one painting that I'll never show anyone. In fact, I lost it, thank God. But through that, I was also reading books. Our local library had books on anti-racism, and I read in one of them that to be an anti-racist, you first have to educate yourself. And after you educate yourself, then you have to educate others. And doing that, I also found that I was learning about different people who had been involved in civil rights and different social justice movements. And from them, I found out about Dot Counts. And this photograph in a 1957 newspaper article of her integrating her school in North Carolina was seen by James Baldwin. The photograph was so powerful to him that it inspired him to leave France and move back to the United States so he could work in the civil rights movement. Well, I wanted to honor Dot with a portrait. And 4 portraits later, I finally got some of her courage and fortitude that she had when her classmates were yelling at her, jeering at her, and spitting on her for just trying to go to class, which was her right. So that's where art therapy comes in. I was exploring my emotions. But what happened is the first paintings were like getting rid of all the anger and frustration. And by doing something positive, painting a portrait of someone who I wanted people to know about, I was starting to help find resolution. And I found many, many African American women, and I chose them because they have to overcome both racism and gender to be able to succeed, to reach their dreams. And all of the women that I decided to paint not only reached their dreams, but gave back to their community. After those 40 paintings, I made a book. I was still stuck. It was COVID. No one could come to my studio. And I wanted people to know about these women, so I made a book. And from that book, I took it to the Marin City Library, and then Martin Luther King Jr. Academy, so that the young people would know about these women, because I thought it was very important. They inspired me, these women, and I wanted them to inspire others. So that's when I was using art to help find resolution by becoming part of the solution, not the problem. I kept on painting. My next 40 portraits, I started seeing something happening where I was seeing patterns of what these women were doing in civil rights and social justice. And so I took a class at College of Marin, African American History, with Walter Turner. Excellent class, by the way. And I started seeing how these women fit in the bigger picture. Through the whole civil rights, from the beginning of emancipation up to desegregation. Then I was using this as a medium for social commentary and to challenge stereotypes and perceptions. And the stereotype that I was trying to break through was the one of only seeing people's skin color, where I wanted them to see the person behind, the character of that person. My second book was Fighting for Equality, because that's what these women did. They fought not just their own personal battles to overcome prejudices, but for equality for all people, for their community, and to help their community lift themselves up. I decided to do one step further. I wanted my art to be seen by more people, and this is my third show. My second one was again at Martin Luther King Jr. Academy, and I'm so happy that it was there, because they had the classes come in one by one and do lesson plans, learning about these women. And I was very, very happy. I feel that these portraits are a visual reminder of the power of individuals to make a difference. I use all the profits from my books and now my cards, my t-shirts. I have posters for classrooms, and I use them to donate to schools and libraries around the country. I started small in Marin, and then I had friends buy books and donate them to libraries up in Arcata or down to the Watts Empowerment Center in LA. And I have my books in Macon, Georgia, which is the home of the KKK. And I also have my books in Florida. Not in a public school, it's in a private school, but one step at a time. What's next? Well, I'm continuing to paint. Yeah. My next 40 paintings, I'm focusing on more current people, such as the 3 founders of Black Lives Matter that are on the wall over there. I want young people to know they can make a difference now, because there are people now making differences. It isn't just people in the past. And the book that's coming out of that is Doing the Right Thing. As Martin Luther King says, it's always the right time to do the right thing. As you can see, I took one step using art as art therapy to heal my own pain. And that step led to another and another, until I became a social justice artist. And you can see the output that I've done. And I was so inspired by these women, and I want other people to be inspired by them also. And I'm hoping by being inspired, someone else might want to take one step towards getting rid of racism. As Fannie Lou Hamer says, the civil rights activist, nobody's free until everybody's free. Thank you so much for coming tonight.